Welcome to CLIC Connect. I'm your host, Craig Sullivan, and today it's our last show of the season. We're wrapping up season 7, and we've got 2 industry leaders for you. I can't wait to have them on the show. They're joining us for the first time. But before we bring them in, I would like to thank our production partners, our good friend over Red Roof Franchising. Call Matt Hastedler over there. He'd love to talk to you. You know, they're a great alternative. They've got an extended stay. They've got their soft brand. They've got their select service brands. Love to talk to you and let them know that producer Danny and I sent you. Also, we've got our good friends at Chicago Title National Commercial Services Group, California. And they launched a hotel practice. As I've been preaching to everybody, every deal is critical, more so now than at any other time recently. So you need to get your deals closed on time. You've got to hit those milestones during the escrow and close. You've got 3 points of contact over there, and they can help you on a national basis. You've got Stephanie Zapalak, you've got Ryan Huntsman, and you've got Steven South. Please give them a call and let them know that producer Danny and I sent you over there. With that, let's get into the last episode of season 7. I am very, very happy to have Doris Hager and Patrick Kruger from Hager Design International, Inc. join the show today. Doris and Patrick, welcome. How are you?
Welcome. Thank you, Craig. That's quite an introduction. We're great. Thank you.
Well, we try to have some fun with that part of it at least. So, Doris, let's start off with you. Would you tell the audience about yourself and Hager Design International, please?
Well, I'm Doris Hager. I started the company Hager Design over 30 years ago. We are a Canadian firm at the moment, but we have a lot of work in the U.S. We work all across North America, and our talent is also spread throughout North America. Patrick is based out of Seattle, and we are focused mostly on the hospitality industry. We also, besides hotels, restaurants, we also work in the senior living arena and have been dabbling in the multifamily area. So we work with brands, we work with independent developers, we work on prototype, we work on independent hotels, we've worked on casinos as well. And we love the industry. We love the hospitality industry.
I love it. Patrick, what's your role at Hager? And please let the audience know about your background.
Sure. Thanks, Craig, for the introduction. I've been with the Hager now for 6 months. I've been in hospitality for almost 30 years at this point, and I've spent about half of it on the boards, designing 4- and 5-star destination projects around the world. And then the latter half, kind of strategic leadership for growing business with various clients. And right now, my role with Doris is to help have a greater presence in North America, but specifically in the U.S. for our hospitality market.
Love it. Now, full disclosure, I've known Doris for a number of years, and we've done projects together in a past life when I was working for a couple of other companies. So they are a wonderful design team, and you should definitely give them a call. So let's start out with trends, hotel trends, design. What are you seeing in full service and select service hotels that excites you, that you see something new that's coming into the market?
Wow, there's always something new coming on the market. It's quite trendy these days to design something hip and young for the millennials, but you have to be careful on the super trendy parts if you want it to be a longer term hotel or a longer renovation, or you want to be not doing major renovations right away. So if you want something that's a little bit more classic, you can have those classic architectural elements and then have those soft goods that can be replaced. So we're seeing a lot of trends right now in the 80s, now moving more into the 90s look, kind of retro. Still see some hip stuff, see some very experimental designs, but we always feel that if we hit the mark and have some classic elements, some classic architectural details, whether they're arches or just a better flow to the space, then those soft goods can be replaced and not cost as much to the developer.
Very nice. Patrick, same question.
Yeah, thanks. Doris and I had a conversation about this earlier, and perhaps have had an ongoing conversation. I always think it's interesting that people say, what's trendy, and the question that immediately comes to my mind is, if it's trendy, is it really what we want to be doing? Because it's here today, gone tomorrow, and how does that affect a hotel owner? How does it affect the cost of rehabilitating a property or repositioning it? Does it date a property? And digging back to when, the design side is, I think it's really important to have the question be, what really should we be doing in relative to the current state of hotels? Should we be designing stuff that's timeless? Should we be designing stuff that is going to be relevant, that speaks back to hospitality? I think a lot of stuff that we quote unquote see as trendy gets away from the foundational, meaning of hospitality, engaging with people, having a conversation, greeting them, a warmth of it, right? Sure, the technology is great, but and we could talk about the trends in technology and all that, but feels like we get away from what hospitality really wants to be, right? And we could simplify it, and I think a lot of times deliver a better product for lower cost for the life cycle of that project.
I agree with you. And, both mentioned timeless and flow. Both of those come to mind. I mean, every time I've been involved with my partners or with a client and we're getting ready to reposition a hotel, it's my love of that part of the process is to talk to the designers and, hey, I've got a California coastal hotel. I've got 12 acres. I've got X amount of buildings, and I've got some bungalows. We've got this and that. I want to play to that vibe in that particular area. And I always like to pay honor to the past, but I also wanted to, I want that design to last more than a couple, 3 years, because if you're getting real trendy, it's done, it's over with.
And by the way, if it's a trend, how do you differentiate your property from somebody else's? I mean, we see this all the time. We see all the brands, we see all this, and you go from hotel to hotel. And I mean, let's be honest, you could, if you didn't know whose name was on it, you'd have a tough time distinguishing a lot of product, right? It all kind of is the same, right? And it's a little bit of facade work. It's not substantive enough, right? So, I mean, I'm not saying all of it is, but I like to challenge our team and the industry really to say, let's get back to substantive design, and it doesn't have to be expensive. It just has to be well done.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So let's talk about flow for a second. You're seeing a 1970s, 80s box that's being, completely redone, rebranded, whether it's moving from Marriott to Hilton or Hyatt or something else. How do you take that box and make it flow better?
That's a challenge. You can't move the elevators to that point, and your porte cochere is pretty much where it is. You can enhance the look of the porte cochere, modernize it more. We can take a look on the interior of, is the restaurant in the right place? Is it movable? We're looking at something like that right now for a renovation of a Hilton hotel, because you're naming brands. And the restaurant where it's located just doesn't invite people in. That's always the problem with restaurants within a hotel. How can you make it look like it's separate, that's not part of the hotel? You can have an outside entrance. So we do look at that, short of blowing out walls and certainly not blowing out elevators. And sometimes you're stuck with it and we can't do anything about it. But with new builds, we definitely like being involved early, because then we improve the flow. We had a hotel where the elevator was clear across from the pool, so people would walk in their wet bathing suits through the lobby to the elevator. You've seen that, right?
Yeah.
And so we had the opportunity to look at the stack and say, well, can we suggest that you move the elevator over here? We made a better bar experience, we made a better lobby experience, and the guests out of the pool right into the elevator, not through the lobby. So that's ideal if we can be involved early, because the interior is about the interior experience, but it has to flow with the architecture. And sometimes the architecture doesn't consider necessarily the interior end user like we do.
Exactly.
Well, and I think if you have fixed points in a structure, I think also the agility of the team to create points of interest within that become wayfinding icons, right? Because what your mind is looking for is logic and a way to progress through a space and a memory of that space clearly if it's not your home or you're visiting. So to create that ease and that simplicity, I think is a welcoming thing subconsciously. So and those are not expensive things to do. You need to think through them.
Absolutely. And I done 2 hotels where we did move everything on the ground floor except for the elevators. We moved the restrooms, we moved the kitchen, we moved the restaurant. And I got to tell you, I never saw such a fire drill in my life. It was not a lot of fun, but the end result was you did get a better flow. You did have a better arrival for the guests when they got there. And at the end of the day, it's our guests. We want to take care of them. We want them not to have buyer's remorse from the moment they get out of their car till the moment they check out.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where you guys are critically important, whether it is a repositioning of a hotel asset and certainly a ground up. Let's look at this. We've got a big box here. How can we make this warm and welcoming to the guests and functional, certainly for the on-site team. So construction pipelines, let's talk about that. What are you guys seeing and hearing out there on ground up construction? I know financing has gotten a little tighter, to be kind. We've had a recent bump in the interest rates. So what are you finding? How's that impacting you guys, and what are you seeing out there from your clients?
Patrick, you want to answer that?
I was going to have you answer it.
Pass in the buck fast.
Ladies first.
Oh, great. We see a lot of renovations right now. A lot of we're having a lot of PIPs coming our way. Mostly renovations at the moment. Having said that, there is new construction happening. Things that have been planned for a while. That have been in the works, that have got their approvals from whether it's the brand or actually the city in order to do the development. But mostly right now, we're having a lot of renovations happening. And that was predicted, and it's what's coming through right now. But again, having said that, there are new builds. There's a lot of new builds of more the prototype, the more 3-star brands. They seem to work. Those deals seem to work. They seem to have a lot of investors or private investors that want to fund those. But really big projects, unless they've been in the works, we haven't seen anything brand new just yet.
Patrick?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think in full transparency, our sweet spot has been the middle sector. So our activity, we're seeing it there, right? We're seeing a lot of PIP and compounded by COVID and coming out of that and the need to renovate a lot of the properties that were potentially on hold. And so there's a lot of activity. I think we've all kind of been to our share of conferences and heard that same thing. The larger projects are not as frequent and, they're out there, but I wouldn't say that I've sensed a slowdown or paralysis like we've seen in the past. I think it's just more cautious, but cautiously optimistic, and a lot of the big groups, a lot of chatter about acquiring and moving properties. So I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah,
I haven't heard anything about we're doing dead stop or anything like that. No, I think you're fine. I think we're plowing along. There's people, when they want to do a deal, they'll do a deal.
Well, exactly. You've had a lot of trophy assets change hands recently. You've got our friends at Stonehill. I know they've done some construction loans recently, and they were able to finance 75% loan to cost, and they can also bring in a PACE loan to help fill some of that gap. So there's ways, and I think that's the thing you got to look at. Let's get the property entitled, or if you're doing an adaptive reuse, or if you're going to go ground up, those type of things.
There's certainly a demand for product, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, with the PIPs being as strong and frequent as they are right now for a lot of different reasons. I mean, COVID-19 put a halt to some of that, financial woes because of, COVID also stopped that for a while. All the brands are full tilt back into getting the PIPs done. How are you seeing that? How you're interacting with all the brands every day on these PIPs? How is it getting through the process now with the brands to get, your designs approved and to get that work started?
It's much better because they're all back to work or they've rehired. There's new people, and matter of fact, we're going to go meet a brand next week to try to fast track a project through in a very organized manner. But they take their, they have their certain timelines that they need to review the projects, and they have certain milestones that you have to present materials and designs in. So it's 30, 60, 90%. In some brands. Some brands take 30 days to get back to you. Other brands take 2 weeks to get back to you. Not so much. Most of the time we count on 30 days for them to get back. But we've figured that if we bring, and the client is knowledgeable about the hotel and has a good experience with hotels, there's a great project manager and us as designers and a purchasing agent and the client. If we can meet ahead of time, then we're fast tracking a project right now that we're going to the brand with next week, all of us. We're going to look to see what the brand will accept for it's a renovation, which prototype components we can agree upon, which ones will be custom, and then they'll start ordering so to circumnavigate that supply chain issue that we've been having. And then we continue with the design. We've done the preliminary design, meaning space planning and stuff, right. But we've not finished drawings. So we're trying to speed that through, still going through the regular channels with the brand. But as a team, you got the purchasing agent in line, you got the project manager in line, and the client, we all agree, and off we go. And I think that's a fast track project we can do. But often the developer feels that they should be able to push the brands to fast track. And there's a process. And sometimes it's difficult to try to speed that up.
There you go.
The other way.
So let's talk about supply and manufacturing delays. Is that eased up? Are you pushing out your timelines now? What's the new norm with that, guys?
We still are pushing the timelines out, but with the example I just gave you about going to the brand to try to push some of that forward to get some of the lead items ordered early, speeds it up. But you still, model room used to be 3, maybe 4 months from the time that you order it to where it's installed and ready to go. You're still 6 to 8 months right now for something like that, and clients don't want to hear that. But it's better. It's much better than it was. But nobody stocks stock anymore. You have to order it. We have a situation where a client, even the brand said, get it in stock, quick ship. Well, who's got 100 units of something in stock? Hardly anybody. I don't know if anybody has 100 units in stock of something. So you have to allow for it to be manufactured.
Well, and I think there's always, in anything you do, there's always challenges, right? And this is the challenge du jour, right? It's supply chain. And I think sometimes it's also an excuse, right? Like, I think you have to be creative. Like Doris was saying, like you have to sit down and acknowledge where the challenge is and figure out a solution. Like, how do we solve for that? Do we manufacture it in the States? Do we manufacture it overseas? Can we afford to? Does the delay cost us more than build it, having it manufactured in the States, perhaps, right? Where's that analysis? And sit down right away, and before pen hits the paper, it's like identify where the challenge is, right? And solve for that. because it's going to be something else next cycle, right? And that's where I think good partners help. That's what differentiates a good team, right? It's not just the interior designer, it's the purchasing agent, it's the architect, it's the owner, it's the operator. It's everybody sitting down and say, here's the challenge, how do we solve it, right?
Exactly. I think it's definitely that team concept, and everybody's got to be on the same page.
Right.
So now, are there openings for getting more manufacturing done in the United States? Is Mexico viable? Is Canada viable? I know we've been heavily dependent on China for, a lot of the materials that are going into the room and the hotel itself now and is that spreading out now? It's not so much, everybody's going, okay, well, we're going into Q3. We need to get in the we need to get in line for everything coming out of China because we know that they're going to be closed for Lunar New Year, blah, blah, blah. There's always those little idiosyncrasies that, can disrupt things. So are you finding that you're ordering from more locations, whether it's the US, whether it's Canada, where it's Mexico, or even India?
Well, we just opened. Go ahead.
Sorry, they are diversifying to different locations, not just China. Vietnam is a good source. Mexico is a good source. Canada also. US also. As Patrick was saying, it just depends on the cost factor. North American produced goods typically are more expensive because labor is more expensive.
We just opened that project in the Southwest, and a lot of the casework was built in the U.S. And it allowed us, it was a factor in the schedule of the project. And I think it'd be a great analysis to go back and say, okay, so how did that play out? What was the delta in cost there relative to time and change orders and quality? Frankly, the quality was outstanding. It was phenomenal.
Nice.
And it was, built right here in the States. So there's a real opportunity there.
Love it. So guys, how does Hager Design enhance the hotel project? What are you guys bringing to the table that you're going to get that big wow factor from not only the owner, but the management company, the brand, the lender? What's part of your secret sauce?
Well, we have a trademark process called Image Partner, and it's a very unique process that we get all the decision makers involved right at the beginning. And we find out what's important to them, what's our market. Are they 30-year holders? Are they 5-year holders? Are they flippers? Whatever, right? Yeah. It's a different philosophy. A 30-year holder wants things to last 30 plus years. A turnover flipper, whatever you want to call it, is interested in positioning that property appropriately and then getting out. That's their philosophy.
Right.
So we have to take that in consideration, plus the local market. So by doing that process super early, we target right away. I mean, we thought one time we were doing a restaurant, we said, oh my goodness, it's got to cater to everybody. It's got to be super trendy, and it's attached to a hotel. And what we learned was no, it's to cater to the hotel people. So a completely different approach.
Right.
So we learned that early. And then we get into more what we call musings, or Patrick calls charrettes, on how you really analyze it and so forth. And I'll let you talk about that, Patrick, a bit.
You want me to talk about charrettes?
Yeah.
Well, I think the charrettes are a phenomenal process. I mean, because I think the one is it gives you an opportunity to level set with the team, document what the expectations are going to be. And I think it's really important that you do it in person. I mean, I think there's nothing substitutes in person other than these lovely podcasts. But I think I want to go back to your original question: what differentiates us, and what's the special sauce? And maybe sometimes I'm a little too pragmatic, but I'm going to go for it anyway. I've been there 6 months, and here's what I see. We have a firm that operates really specializes in two markets: senior living and hospitality. We have incredible tenure at the firm, and we have very good subject matter experts leading each of those practices. And what that does is those folks are showing up for the interviews, those folks are delivering the projects, and those folks are answering the phone calls. So it reduces changes, it reduces errors, and it delivers at a very high level with incredible customer service. And what I've said to the team in the past is, look, and I think it'd be hard to disagree with this by any of us, is, there's a lot of phenomenal designers around the world. We have great company, innovative people, wonderful people, and we all draw beautifully and we design beautiful places. But what distinguishes us and needs to distinguish us is the level of service we provide to our clients. Listen to our clients, acknowledge their needs, try to deliver on that, and better their projects. And I think we do a phenomenal job of that. And we, extensive references from both the technical and delivery side on that. So I think that's the one thing that sticks out always in my mind that differentiates us. Portfolio, you can look at a lot of portfolios and they can be gorgeous, but what really makes that person different, right? And they picked up the phone and they helped me out 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. If I've got a client that is stressed out over the weekend, I'd rather you call me and share that. I want to troubleshoot it with you because you're going to be happier about it. And that's why you hired me, right? I don't want you stewing on it until Monday. I mean, and we're a small firm, right? We're not 1,000 people. So we bring that value and we believe in it, and everybody says it, building relationships, but we can only deliver that beautiful product after we have your trust of a good relationship.
Absolutely.
And most of our clients are long-term clients. We have relationships that go over 15 years because we deliver. And internally, their people may change, but we understand the company. We deliver on their deadlines, and we partner with them basically on their projects.
You're a trusted partner. Yeah. Absolutely.
And Craig, I don't want that to sound like it's a self-service, it sounds like a pitch about the firm or anything. I truly believe that. I mean, I think it's foundational to any relationship. We could be talking about anything right now, right? We talk about friendship, your neighbors. You got to stay connected, and you got to pick up the phone and show up and be there in person. Break some bread with somebody, have a glass of wine, right?
Yep, I agree. I mean, that was always the hallmark in my career is it's you've got to be engaged, you've got to help, you've got to prove your value every time, and you cannot rest on your laurels. And if you start thinking that, hey, I don't have to make that phone call just to say hi, it's time to move on. It's
right.
you're in the wrong line of business at that point in time. So last question, what do you guys think is going to be ahead of us in the rest of 2023?
Okay, I'll go. I think 2023 will be better than 2022. Much better. Yes, there's some pessimism out there in the financial world, but I think there's a lot of optimism because in the hospitality industry, the numbers are back, the rooms are full, their ADR's up, all those things are really, really good. It's just be a little bit different. So I think 23 will be a very good year. I think 24 will be an even better year.
Nice. Patrick?
I tend to always be cautious, and some people say the glass half empty, but it is what it is. I think it's just going to be more normal activity with some growth versus, we tend to look back at where we were, and there was just kind of this explosive growth in the economy, and we were doing well. So I think it's kind of a leveling out and a cruising altitude for a while, and then I think the election will determine what happens for good.
Great answers. Okay, guys, you ready to play our lightning round?
Sure.
All right. Producer Danny's going to put 2 minutes on the clock. We're going to go Doris, Patrick in that order. And we're starting now. Design.
Hager.
Patrick.
That's your design. Listening.
Conferences.
Lots.
Networking.
Repositioning of hotels.
Active. Exciting.
Adaptive reuse.
Favorite market to work in.
4-star and up.
5-star.
Favorite airport.
Oh, Minneapolis,
Why?
because it's a really nice airport.
That's an awful answer. It's freezing.
It was great.
Burbank.
There you go.
Oh,
Barefoot
wait, can
people
I
on
take
an
that
airplane.
back? Can I
What?
take that back? Palm Springs.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. Barefoot people on an airplane.
Yuck.
Yeah, disgusting.
Aisle or window?
Aisle.
Window.
Junk fees.
What?
Junk fees, like the urban destination charge, key replacement charge, junk fees.
Oh,
Oh, a nickel and diming.
Yeah.
why?
All right. Tequila or whiskey?
Oh, tequila.
Vodka.
Favorite hotel or resort?
Cavasan Hotel, because we just finished it.
It's no longer there, but absolutely loved it. Calistoga Ranch.
There you go. Hey, you did have 10 seconds left. Thank you guys for joining us today. So last question, then we'll get into your shameless plugs. Leadership. What do you want the hotel community to know about Hager Design International?
Sorry, go ahead.
One thing.
Wow, that's a good question. Leadership. One thing we want the hotel industry to know about us. We are leaders in our area. We've 8 years in a row, we've been nominated top design firm in Vancouver by NEWH. We are been around for 30 plus years, so we're definitely leaders in that regard. We know the hospitality industry inside and out, whether it's a QSR or a hotel and even senior living. We know all the ins and outs of that. And we lead our clients to greater designs than they could ever think of themselves.
Nice. Like that answer. Patrick?
I'll keep it short. Responsive and thoughtful leaders.
Wonderful. Great job. You guys got an open invitation to rejoin the conversation anytime you want. Doris, how can everybody get a hold of you?
They can email us. Probably the best way to do it would be at info@Hager Inc., just because I'm not sure who to direct it to. And they can also call the office. My extension number is 222 at any time, or reach out to Patrick, because he'll be at the conferences mostly with our industry leaders, as he calls it. Xandro is in charge of our hotel division, and they tend to go to the conferences together. So at any time, they can reach out. And Patrick, do you want to give your info?
Sure. As Doris said, info is great, and email for me is the best. Doris knows I'm very good at answering my emails. Patrick@HagerInc.com.
You're a better texter. Why don't you give your phone number so they can text you?
Let's keep it to my email for right now.
There you go. Thank you both for being a part of CLIC Connect and joining the conversation. It means the world to me. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Craig. Appreciate it.
So nice to see you, Craig. Thank you.
Take care.
You too.
Hey, that's it. It's a wrap on season 7. I couldn't ask for two better guests than Doris and Patrick. This is just a delightful show. It's great to see friends and talk to them about hospitality. And producer Danny's going to join me right now, and we're going to say thank you for the great season. Come on in, Danny.
You're throwing me for a loop, Craig.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll take care of the other one later. But hey, Danny, thank you for everything you've done this season. This has just been wonderful. Thank you. Your direction, your post-production skills, everything you make the show run. Thank you very, very much.
Oh, of course. I enjoy doing this with you, Craig.
That's wonderful. I enjoy you and our guests. I mean, we're having a great time. This season 7 just blew by. So, Danny, I think I better thank our production partners, and I think we better wrap this up, and we'll go from there. Thanks. Thank you to our production partners once again. Red Roof Franchising. Call our buddy Matt Haustedler over there. He'll be glad to help you. Let him know that producer Danny and I sent you. Also, our friends at Chicago Title National Commercial Services Group, California. They've got a specific hotel practice to help you with your acquisition, your development, your refinances. They're there for you. So give Ryan Huntsman, Steven Semp, Stephanie Zappalek a call over there. They'll be glad to hear from you and let them know that we sent you. Last but not least, March 1st and 2nd, California Lodging Investment Conference, our 6th annual conference. Cannot wait. We are like 21 days away at filming this episode. So it's going to be a great show. We've got 9 brands. We've got lenders. We've got owner-operators, management companies, third-party professionals. Everybody you need for a deal is at this conference. So thank you all very much. Register at CLIconference.com. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back with Season 8 soon. Thank you. Bye.